As we are well aware, the vulnerable people in our society are definitely among the most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And certainly there are several initiatives underway to make sure that they're housed and fed and looked after. But of course, it's also important to keep them educated and entertained and active. And there is a great community initiative underway. Saskatoon Public Library is among the groups that's taking part in this, providing activity kits for vulnerable youth. Very happy to be joined by Amanda LePage from the Saskatoon Public Library. Amanda, thank you for chatting with us today. Maybe in basic terms, if you don't mind, we'll start a little bit with just where the idea for these activity kits came from.
Sure. So in the early days, the Saskatoon Public Library was invited to be part of a wonderful group of organizations. It's a collaboration of 40 or 50 different organizations across the city called the Saskatoon Interagency Response to COVID-19. And we really, as a group, all of the organizations really want to support vulnerable folks during this time because it's really hard for them. When you may not have a steady income or might not be making much money, might have precarious housing, to be able to, social distance and stay healthy and have access to information and resources that, some of the rest of us might.
Talk a little bit about some of the things that you're including in these kits. What kind of items are you providing?
So really, it's anything to encourage families to connect and kids to stay engaged and, mentally healthy during this time. So it can be anything from board games and puzzles, coloring books, activities. We've got journals for for kids, teenagers in particular, to write in. We have some hygiene items like hand sanitizer or like body wash, things like that. But most of it's to keep their minds active and to keep them engaged and entertained and still learning and, working together and playing together and being healthy that way.
Yeah, obviously that's very important. Want to keep the minds as well as the bodies healthy. That's great. And it sounds like so far you've had a good response in terms of collecting items and also there's been a demand. People have been seeking these kits out.
Oh, absolutely. So as of not this past Friday, but the Friday before, we'd given out about 314 kits. I think it's probably close to 400 at this point, actually, with our deliveries last week. And I guess that would probably impact, probably a little over 1,000 children and youth for sure. We actually receive requests from organizations who connect with specific families, and then our folks here at the library will take the description of the family, so the ages and the genders of children, and they'll, pack what they need in that kit for that family and label it for that family, and then we deliver it to the organizations, and the organizations can get it to the families that they work with.
And you are still looking for donations if people are interested in helping out
Yeah.
with these kits. What's the best way for people to get involved?
Well, there's a couple of different ways, actually. So the Rusty McDonald Library on Primrose Drive, that's at the Lawson Heights Civic Center, we are accepting donations every Friday in May from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. So you can just pull up and there's a cart out front, and we'll wave and say thank you from the door. You can place your donations on the cart. We're looking for new and unused items,
Right.
preferably sealed if possible. So books, puzzles, games, toys, not anything that needs batteries or not anything that's plush or fabric, preferably. Things like outdoor toys and games that families can all play together. So things like bocce ball or, soccer balls, basketballs, skipping ropes, those kinds of things are really helpful at this point because the weather is so nice and lots of folks don't actually have backyards to play in. So something that they can set up and in a park and then take home with them at the end of the day is really helpful. And yeah, you can do that. The other option is donating to the Saskatoon Community Foundation, and you can put a note in your donation that you'd like it to go to the activity kits. So that's also helpful as well, because we're making orders every week because we know that there are certain age groups and certain items that are really hard to donate or hard to get for our folks.
And if somebody is watching and perhaps thinks that they or their child could benefit from getting one of these kits, maybe what's the best way to get information about that, Amanda?
Right. So the best way is to connect with a community organization that serves vulnerable folks. So somebody like the White Buffalo Youth Lodge or Read Saskatoon, or even the school community outreach coordinators that they have in the neighborhood schools, and then just say, you heard about this thing and that you're really struggling, because we're trying to get to our most vulnerable folks, right? People who might be using the food bank don't necessarily have an extra 20, 30, $40 to buy a game or a puzzle for their kids. So we're trying to get to the most vulnerable folks. So connecting with a community organization is the best way to go. And most community organizations who are part of the interagency response to COVID are connected with us.
Well, that's fantastic. It's such a great idea and such important work that you're doing. Thank you for doing that and helping look after the vulnerable people in our city. And thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with us today, Amanda.
No problem, Simon. Thanks for having us. It makes a big difference.